Very good.
Where are we going? We said Sky Battle, right?
Yeah.
Brill.
Just make sure you change the settings so there's.
Oh, you're right.
14.
Thank you. Let me see.
That could have gone bad. 16 people.
Oh, must
per
be between
team.
2 and 8. Okay, yeah, it's 8, bro.
With Max, it's
Brill.
looking really sad over
I'm into
here.
the party. K-Bone?
What?
K-Bone.
Hey, Bone.
Hated that. Wait, I can't. Wait, I can't add you, Cam. Because there's 4 of us.
What the heck?
Wait, how do I... Is there a way that I can add Cam to this?
Probably.
Oh, I was muted. You can just make teams and you can assign Cam to our
Move yourself.
team.
Fuck you, Cam. Fuck you.
Just go to the Plobby and then teams, and then you
Let's
can make our team with the party and then add Cam to the team and then just click start.
Wait, can I make you party leader?
Oh my god, Cam Ben!
I can do it.
10
I can
added
do
me
it
to
if
his
you
friends
want.
list.
Party
Add them back.
leader. How do I make the party then the party leader?
Dude,
Wait, guys, how
do
do I
you
do
want me to host the Plobby? Just do slash Plobby. Just do
do
slash
it?
Plobby space leader, I think. You can just change it.
Yeah, yeah.
Plobby
It's Plobby leader.
And then just give it to
With
me.
my
I'll
ex.
Leader.
do it.
Okay.
Just give it to me, I guess. Like, I guess I'll figure it out. Katie. Katie.
There's no way you did. Slash.
Wait, I can't do it! I can't
That's
do it!
actually insane.
Just leader? No, I did it right, I swear. No, it's not a thing.
Okay, maybe you can do slash party space leader.
Party leader.
I don't know.
Transfer, Plobby transfer, slash Plobby
Oh,
transfer.
slash Plobby
Oh,
transfer.
yes, very good! Thank you! Thank you!
What
There
can
you go.
I say?
Okay, like...
Okay, and do I have to put Cam Bam 010 on our team? Do I have
Yes, you must.
to?
What do you mean, do you have? You must.
Fine, whatever.
I still have Mad World playing in the
What
background.
is Cam Bam?
I put it on to sad to be sad.
I'm on team
Good.
1. Whoa.
There
Because
we
we're gonna be number 1, guys.
Ha! Yeah!
Yay!
Yay!
Ah, scary.
La la la.
Get Leia out of here, it's crazy.
Who said that?
Oh my God,
Who said that?
acting straight.
Sister
Who said
Gober.
that? Who
You have
said
to respect it.
Oh my god, of course it's Sister Gober. I can't escape. Can't escape.
Guys,
Somehow
not to- not
Katie's
to, like-
sister is more of an op to me than Katie themselves. Like, it's actually insane at this point.
Oosh, 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 oosh. Yeah, my sister's kind of an op.
wait,
No, but your sister only
always...
ops when it's
No, your
deserved,
sister's
you know?
always really nice when she joins my chat.
Okay,
Same.
okay,
Right,
so...
so,
Always-
right,
It's also
so
really nice when she joins my chats. Maybe she just hates Leia.
that would
She,
feel
pull-
very
she
accurate.
pulls up and she's like, hello. And I'm like, hi. And she's like, how are you? And I'm like, I'm good. She's always really nice. I've never had beef with Sister Gober.
Okay.
I said hi to
yet.
Sister
What else?
Gober on,
What else
on
do you need me to
FaceTime.
do? I've set the teams. What else do you need me to do? Is that
Start
something?
the game,
I just set our
probably.
team and then start
Oh.
the Sky Battle game.
Make sure we're pink.
Yeah. I don't know if you can choose colors. I don't think so.
Right, I'm ready to play whatever.
Sorry, 1 second. I'm trying. I'm trying my best.
Oh,
No, I'm
so...
just excited.
You know what?
I'm just excited to get started. So I have someone private messaging me evil things.
What
There's
do
a
you
Sister
mean?
Gober sending.
no.
Oh, is it nominal gravy?
No, no.
Is it camp?
It's secret third option. Evil third option.
Evil third option.
Who else is evil? Force of it.
Oh.
No, it was Cat Bab. You had it right the third time. Look at the photo I sent you. What on earth?
It's gonna be the worst freeze frame of your face ever on stream.
Oh, she actually looks so gorgeous.
Never mind.
Oh,
Aw, my
There-
sister's
we also-
so
we al-
pretty, guys.
we also acquired Ruchi.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
okay.
Root's
Welcome
good.
to the team.
Welcome to the team.
Yeah.
I'm not making you. What, Cam? I'm not modding you. It's an awful idea. It's such a bad idea.
I had to cause
Okay,
nefarious things.
Easy, we just need to win. You
This is
know?
true. We do, and I believe that we can.
Okay, I'm not having
You'll be
Okay,
boots.
my
if someone took all the
next
levels.
Yeah, I'm not having
star.
boots. I guess not.
I'm following.
I just cleansed Camper.
I don't know who I'm
He wants
following.
TNT Cam.
Oh,
I'll
I
give
was
you some
following with my
TNT.
ex.
Turn it around, turn it around, turn it around, turn it around.
And we got knockback swords.
There you go. Cat. Okay.
What do you mean?
It's
Cam Bam
KB
gets
sword,
I'm trying to give you
TNT?
careful.
explosives.
I don't like that. I don't like that. Why have you given Cam Bam explosives?
No, you can't. He's not getting them anymore.
Okay.
Someone needs that, like, they can take it.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Oh, a diamond sword. Don't
Is there
mind
any
if
more
I
stuff
do.
anywhere?
And there's chests.
Well, yes. Oh, I completely missed the water. That's awkward.
TNT.
Oh, there's
Go,
people.
Ruchi. Go,
Guys!
Ruchi. Go. Go, Ruchi. Go.
Hey, don't change. Just stay together.
Okay.
We're on our way. Help is on the way. Needed fract.
On the way.
Hello.
we're on the way.
Hi, friends.
Katie, you can
Hey.
eat food to heal
Guys,
up,
there's
you know.
someone below us.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay. Oh, hello.
Oh, they're really trying.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, they're going for it. Oh my goodness.
Guys, you 8.5 hours trying to
Yeah, I
come
just
up.
missed
Thanks,
both of them.
Ruchi.
I don't have an arrow anymore.
Yeah, I don't have any util.
No, I have like nothing.
Oh, yellow's
Katie,
right.
Katie,
orange
Katie,
is right
Ruchi's
ahead.
trying to patch you diamond
yeah,
boobs.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
My
Where did Cat
Cam
die? What?
I was trying to TNT someone. Oh, there's orange people behind us.
Did you kill Kanban with that?
Did you just kill Cat?
No, I didn't kill Cam. I was looking at 8.5.
Behind us! Yeah, nice try.
Should we guys get on the tree?
Probably.
Could do.
Wait,
Wait,
before
let
every
me see
team
if I
gets this,
can.
we have to win for Kanban. This is how it must go
In his memory.
in his memory.
Oh, I missed.
I remember the day I met
Easy
Kanban.
game, guys.
2
I'm
minutes
on the
ago.
tree.
No.
I'm on the
But we
very
can't be
top
up
of the
too
tree.
high because then
Oh.
the top layer is gonna kill us.
That's true. That's a good point. We could build a platform in the middle-ish.
Right.
Cat may have had nothing, but he was everything.
But he was everything to us.
And that's my wisdom I'm sharing.
Oh, there's a bunch of people below us.
He was the
Building
moment.
a platform.
Okay.
Oh my god, you
Oh.
guys scared me.
Oh yeah, we might need to build some
Let me know next
walls.
time you're running down.
Orange.
Oh, orange.
Me. Oh.
Can I hit people?
Okay, we're being hit by blue from
TNT.
either side.
Oh my, you're lucky
Oh,
that
I'm
I
dead.
have good reaction time because you just blocked me in with the fucking TNT.
I would never do that. I would never do
I
that.
believe,
No.
I
That was
believe.
rude. That was rude.
Okay, that's good. Very
I think we
good.
just need to pick the fight.
There's
Yeah.
blue! Blue!
You've got blue's above you. It's gonna jump you.
Nah, they're all just trying to get us.
Okay, blue's also gonna try and get you from behind, I think. They're
Don't
currently on the
worry,
wall.
I got blue.
Yeah, watch your back.
There's one person here.
I'm scared!
Here, anyone need boots?
They're fighting
still?
with orange. They're fighting with orange.
Nice, nice, good stuff. They're really low.
Got him?
Good stuff. They're above you. Be careful. They're like right by the entrance bit. They're getting ready to jump down, I think. Yeah, you guys are fine over there.
I just want to live. I just want to live for a little
I
bit.
hear- I
Oh,
heard
they're
the
dropping
TNT.
TNT. Yeah. You guys are fine for now down there, I think. Just red's on top of you, so be aware. Should we run one more after this?
I'm
I
down.
can probably stay for a
Okay.
little bit.
Yay!
The
I'm down
red's
for
trying to
one
drop TNT on us.
I have so much to live
Ooh.
for. I've been cleansed.
Ooh. Same.
Dang, guys.
Yeah, we're cooked. I
Dang,
think we need
guys.
to move.
They're currently. Oh, careful, TNT. Careful. Yeah,
Ow.
they're dying to the void coming down.
Would you move? I felt my death. I had not a lot to live for. I found out. Hi, Kate. I'm doing good. How are you, Danny?
Oh, I died
got
to the
one.
void, or to the...
No.
I'm not
Good
winning.
stuff.
I fear.
I couldn't get
Unlucky.
down quick enough without
That's
fall
okay.
damage.
But
That's
see you
okay,
paying
you
root.
did
You
so
was
well.
proud. You were so freaking proud.
Trilliant.
La la la.
You're doing so well. You're doing so well, guys.
You're so well. You're so well.
Oh, unlucky.
I'm floating.
Save yourself!
I'm
Oh,
back.
you don't have enough.
Oh.
Fourth place isn't too bad,
GG.
though.
Yeah.
It's fine. You know, it's honestly fine.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone wanted us because we're so
Okay,
awesome.
I'll run it back one
GG.
more time. Oh, wait. Leia.
I'll run
You
it back one more
You'll
time.
run it back one more time. One more time.
Wow, there you go. Oh wait,
Dun,
what's
dun,
the lyrics to that
we're
song?
gonna celebrate.
Celebrate.
Oh, da,
Oh my god,
da,
wait,
da,
people are
we're
picking
gonna
flowers right
celebrate.
now. Each day.
So lovely.
I
Hooray.
love it when they get their favorite flower.
Flower.
Yeah, people are
flower?
picking a flower from my chat. They got a dandelion
Aw.
flower.
Wait, that's literally you.
That's me!
Oh my god.
So
Oh
if
my
you
god!
were a flower, what flower would you be?
Guys, I have a rough answer for this one.
Orchid. Orchid.
It's just such a
No.
'Cause I'm
kiddo.
beautiful and sexy.
Oh. Oh. That's not what
You tell him.
That's not
Oh,
what
I need an axe.
Okay, I'm sorry. Do you have something against what I just said?
No, no, no.
No,
It
that's
was just
okay.
no. It was
Yeah,
just
that's
I
kind
think
of
that's
what I
really-
thought.
It was just
I
I
think
made. It was just I made a joke and then.
I didn't
Right,
trust this.
right.
I didn't-
Sometimes jokes they fly, they don't land, you know?
Guys, orange is coming here.
Do I have boots? Oh, I don't.
They would
We'll
never
kill
come
them.
this
It's
direction.
okay.
I'm initiating an alliance. Alliance
us
with
and
me,
you?
guys.
I've already shot at them, so maybe an alliance is not
Yo,
the best.
sister,
idea.
bro, you
Alliance.
make
Maybe
sense.
another life.
Oh my.
Oh, I completely missed
Alliance
that.
with me. Alliance with me. Alliance.
Guys, let's be friends.
Alliance with me.
Oh my god!
Whoa!
I don't think we want that alliance.
Oh.
I don't think we want that
Okay,
alliance. Wait,
never
nice
mind.
cam.
Yellow's just killing them.
Guys, let's go
Oh.
this way, away from the alliance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go through the other side.
That's a good call.
Leia!
Oh my gosh!
Okay, like,
Oh no!
why did you? Why did you?
Oh yeah. Thanks.
Cam! Stop it!
It's okay. It's okay. No, Kitty, come
No,
up
I
here.
was
Come up here where you
shocked.
can't get us. Come up here where you can't get us.
So
Guys,
Gotcha.
I'm kind of here.
Bye, Dan.
Oh, they survived.
Go, Leia, go.
Good job to that person.
Everything's okay.
Hey guys,
Everything's
I'm
fine.
watching you from above.
Everything's fine.
Eek!
Run, Kitty, run!
I bet you died. No.
Yeah, because someone blocked my way.
Wait, did that actually
Was it
kill
me?
you? Did that actually?
No, it was
Oh.
Leia.
Did that actually kill you? I didn't think it was.
Leia!
Yes.
I'm
What the heck?
sorry. I'm sorry. I know we do that.
Wait, we're never queuing with Leia.
It's a
again.
cow farm. I thought there'd be cows outside. Outside.
Outside.
I thought there'd be cows.
Guys, I'm gonna die. Oh.
Oh no way.
Oh. It's okay, Kanban carry.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
obviously, yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Well,
And then-
yes.
Oh, yes.
And then Katie Gobert is just there.
Okay, so can we please
Leia.
be kind? Help me! Help me! Help! Help me!
Leia, hit that person that's chasing Katie.
What did
Come
I
here.
just say? That's what I said.
Help!
Nice
Somebody
cam.
help! Thanks, guys.
We pushed them back.
Wow, I feel so supported.
I shouldn't talk. I'm
There's
dead.
lava, there's lava, watch out.
Katie, don't own your position real. Yeah, that was not a good position.
I didn't know
I'm
they were
dead.
turning around.
Run, Cam,
Go,
run.
Cam, go.
Go
Oh,
win
no.
this.
Oh,
We improved.
Unlucky.
You know what? It's the thought that counts, and we really
Yeah.
tried. We
Hey, you know
really
what?
did.
Actually get alive is crazy.
Actually, you know what? We need one more. We need one more. I think we need one more. But not of,
Do
none
we?
of that.
Well, we-
But none
okay,
of
we have
that.
time
But
for
none
one
of that.
more.
But none of it.
Do one more. None of that. What now?
Oh, you know what?
It's so hot and fucking worse
know.
though, guys.
Oh, yeah, you
Can
know.
someone buy me a fan?
Wait, hang on, I got you.
Thanks. Oh, I feel so much cooler now.
Is it working?
Oh, yes, yes.
Yes! I love Buggle
One
Warriors Survivor!
more.
One more
Ooh.
time!
We're
gonna celebrate.
We're gonna celebrate. Oh yeah.
Alright. Oh, yeah.
Evil. That was really funny from my perspective, just like he disappeared. Like he got like blipped.
Bro, blip.
Bullet.
La la la. Do you guys think you would have blipped if you were in the MCU universe?
Low-key probs. My look's that bad. I feel like maybe.
I actually don't want to play anymore.
Oh, fuck.
Why?
What happened?
I actually don't want to play anymore.
What's he saying
I
to
actually don't want to
you?
play
What is he
anymore. I
saying
actually don't want to
to
play
you?
anymore. I've been thrown off. I don't want to play.
What is Cam Bam doing to you?
I actually don't want to play.
Do
Yeah,
it.
with
Oh my
Chungus.
God.
Honestly, do
I actually don't like
it.
him at all. I actually take back every single nice thing I've said about Cam ever in my life.
What has he done?
He just DMs me like miss you, and I'm like, oh, I miss you lots. And as I'm about to send it, he says JK.
Oh,
That sounds like
That's
something I would
crazy.
do.
That actually does sound like something you would do. I'm so upset.
no.
That's crazy. I'm so sorry, Katie. I would
Oh,
never do that to
hate
you.
This one.
Love you, May.
I said we're
You know,
such.
like,
Said like you don't, Loki.
Oh my God.
No, I'm just distraught.
I would never do something like that to you, Cam Bam. You know, learn from her wife how to be nice.
Oh, I messed up.
Oh, I'm gonna die.
You're gonna mess with my wife. You're gonna mess with me.
You mess with my wife,
Rah.
you get the knife.
Rah!
Rah.
Oh! Wait, guys, can everyone
Cam
slow
Bam, it's
down a
on
little bit?
site
I'm
next
gonna die.
TwitchCon.
It's
I
on
absolutely
site.
agree with Katie Gober.
Can everyone slow down a bit? I'm gonna die. I'm gonna perish. Wait, guys.
Sorry,
guys,
sorry,
can
I'm
you slow
kind of.
down?
Oh, we're kind of moving a little bit.
Wait, guys, can we like stop? Guys, can we stop? I'm gonna die. I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead.
So I'm afraid
I'm
to,
not!
Oh,
I
I'm afraid,
am.
Minor movement
I'm
error,
afraid to say the
guys.
speed was actually
My-
being a little too. I didn't expect us to have good players. I'm actually.
oh
a
my
little bit
God!
afraid.
Wait, why am I actually throwing right now?
You're first.
No, I'm
No,
not.
you're not.
What are you talking about? You're literally still alive.
Imagine being dead.
Yeah, that couldn't be me, honestly. It's kind of a skill issue.
I'm actually
Excuse me?
really scared. Oh, Trollian's here. Of course, I'm losing. Ah! Goddamn Trolliant gaming.
I'm still here.
It's okay.
I'm still standing.
I'm still standing.
Leia, I beg, kick Cam from the Plobby. I beg.
I can't. I
I
don't
beg.
know this man. I don't know this man.
Kick him. I
Katie,
do. And
Katie,
I know
I've got
he's
to
evil
make
and
friends.
arrogant.
Katie, I've got to make friends.
No, you don't want to be friends with Kick Cam.
I want to make friends, Katie Gilbert.
No, you don't.
Katie Gilbert.
This is what you want your friend to do. Your friend, quote unquote.
I mean,
Quote
he's.
unquote.
I mean, he's not doing it to me, so. I don't,
That's actually like the craziest excuse ever, by the way.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I agree with May on that
Katie.
one.
Bro, that's like someone going like, oh, you say that this guy like cheated on you? Well, he hasn't done it to me.
If I
so,
die, I
Holy
kick
Cam
Cam.
Bam cheated on me. I can't believe.
I kick Cam.
Oh, it's a s-
Cameron.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Kick Cam. Now, if I get blocked on all socials, Katie Gilbert. I know.
Would you not do that for me?
Would you not? This feels
I'm
like
gonna
this
do this
feels very
one.
toxic. This feels very toxic.
Would you not do that for me then?
This feels very toxic. Typical bird snitched on me. I want your sister. I want your sister gone. I'm banning your sister from my chat. I'm banning your sister from my chat. Get out. Get
Genuinely, that was
out.
immediate. That was so funny.
Bro, if I was going to jail, she would waste no time writing me out. Oh my god. I'm banning Sister Go Birth from my chat. This is done. I'm
Oh my
done.
God.
I'm done. I'm done.
What a joyous day.
I'm so scared. Who was
You
that?
guys
Who
died?
did it? I'm
Oh,
frightened.
that's ooh. Oh my god.
Un- No, no, it's not. No, no, it would never be. It would never be that. Actually,
Leia, you just have
No,
to say you're
Cameron
sorry.
is.
No, it would never be.
At
It's
Daniel
actually-
Leia
You
Discord.
just
It's
need to
actually-
take accountability,
it's actually-
Leia.
you put me into this. It's okay. I've been blocked. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, it's over. Take a screenshot and post it on Twitter. You're gonna farm likes.
Oh my god.
Nice to
that's
nice to
funny.
nice to meet you too, Cambam.
Oh,
Nice to meet you too. I love this environment we have. I love this environment.
that was fun. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Alright.
I'm actually so
was
curious.
fun.
Hold on, I need to look. I'm so.
GG's.
GG's, guys.
Oh,
Make us on the little-
gamers.
Wait, I thought we were taking a screenshot with my ex. Where
Oh
are you?
yes,
Oh.
let's take a screenshot.
He actually blocked
I'm
me.
back. Take a screenshot of it and post it. Call him out publicly.
Oh,
Okay.
That's crazy. That's insane.
You know what? I respect
Right.
the bit. I respect the bit. I can't
Everyone
lie.
come to the
Where are we
bench. I'm at the bench.
Oh wait, yeah. Go to the lobby.
The bench in the lobby.
Lobby.
Which lobby are you in?
Yeah.
Slash inside.
Um,
I'm gonna say when it's 4 season. I'm in. Wait.
You guys
Oh, no,
expect a
wait.
Kambam is problematic thread coming in the next 2
Instance.
hours.
Okay,
Oh,
just summon everyone to you, or Leia, just summon everyone.
Yeah, hold
to
on, hold on,
your,
hold on, hold on,
Okay.
hold on, hold on. Wait,
It's
Wait,
gonna
I
take
have
5.
ugly cosmetics on. Let me take
Dash
them off.
party. How do I do that? What?
It's okay. It's
Oh,
instance.
slash
It's
5,
instance 4 and 5 even.
Everyone teleport to me. Ah, there you go. Let's do it
Okay, let's
here.
go to the fountain over
Fossy!
here.
Fossy Vit.
Farsi!
I love Fossy Vit. Actually,
Everyone
no.
sit on the bench.
Fossy Vit keeps telling me to gamble. I don't know why I like Fossy Vit.
Oh. Uh-oh. I got in trouble.
What do you mean you got in trouble?
I
Did you
spammed.
spam?
Can you summon me again?
Did you get kicked?
Sorry, I got really excited. There we go.
Oh,
that's
I did
crazy.
that. I did that in the wrong chat. It's just not my day.
Hi.
Stop! Can you stop? Can you stop? Can you
Don't
stop?
get
Can you
kicked
stop?
again.
Can you stop?
Alright, so everybody get in here.
Katie's about to be banned from MCCI Island.
Honestly,
Be
real.
banned forever.
Honestly, it's what you deserve at this point.
Yay!
What you've done
What?
to me today.
He's here!
Force of it! Force of it! Force of
Birthday!
it! Force of it! Hi!
Hi, hi.
Okay, everyone, look forward. Screenshot time.
Very good. Aww.
3, 2, 1. Blah.
Cheese! Cheese!
Got it.
Cheese!
Yeah! Yippee!
Hell
I'll
yeah.
put it in our team or in our group
In our
chat.
team chat, guys, we're
Perfect.
okay. I need to go be a cat for like an hour. So
Enjoy
Cat?
being
What?
cat.
I'm gonna
I
go
hope you
do
have the best
that.
working
I'm gonna go
time.
do that. I'm gonna go meow
I need
somewhere
to
else.
eat.
See you guys
Alright.
later.
Wait, do you guys wanna do the raid together thingy?
I'm
I'm
Oh
I'm
yeah,
staying
who
gonna,
are we
live.
rated?
yeah, I'm gonna
Um,
still be
then let's-
streaming.
doing.
Yeah. Or-
Okay, I'll rate.
Ooh.
If I rate Leia, you rate Katie Pay. Let's do it like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Right.
Let
Thank
me-
you
let
guys
me
for
go
hanging
ahead
out. That
and
was
fix
so fun.
It was so much fun.
It was really fun.
Guys, it's time to be a cat. Guys, I've been blocked on Twitter. I wonder if your life's going okay. This is how you know you've made it. Okay, I need to unban Sister Go Birth from my chat. Hold on. Look, you forgot I did that. Hold on. Hold on. Oh my god, that was so much fun. That was actually so much fun. Lem eyes. Hold on, I need to turn my light on. Hi guys, what a day. I've banned Sister Go Birth in my chat. Honestly, if you ask me, she deserved it. If you ask me, she deserved it. Honestly, that's the best decision I've made in my life. Let me be honest. World's like quickest snitch. Genuinely the world's fastest snitch I've done ever, Matt. Because what do you mean it took 2 seconds? Oh wait, the bro folded like faster than a piece of paper. Like, dear God. Like, guys, if I was in a fight, I genuinely think they'd just sit there and watch me get beaten up. Like, insane. May, thank you for the raid. Thank you. It's been a very turbulent day today. It's been a turbulent. Hold on, I need to send this in the thing. The price of a kid. Oh man, thank you so much for playing though. I'm gonna follow Cambab even though Cambab's blocked me. I'm just feeling that. Oh my god. Okay guys, we're about to be doing some freaking CatCraft. Let's play some CatCraft. Hi! Hi! Guys, I made friends today. Could you not tell? You know, tell I made some friends. Like, oh my god. Guys. Okay, let me make sure this is actually going. Also, yeah, chat, make sure to send your food. Make sure. I'm back being a meow meow cat. It's been a hot minute. I need to pee on this real quick. Cat. Okay, guys, I need to do some cat piss. Don't be upset with me. I'm pissing. I'm pissing. Don't mind me. I gotta piss. I also need to drink some water. Oh god. I'm so thirsty. Everything's fine. Everything's fine and okay. There we go. Thank you, babe, for the raid. I appreciate it. Guys, we're playing on a server called CatCraft. It's a week-long SMP where I am in fact a cat. I hear a fucking eagle. I'm so scared right now. There's a crow. We're fine. Where's Orchid Wind? I miss Orchid Wind. Where you at, Orchid Wind? Where you at? Yippee! Okay, chat. Life as a cat's been treating me really well. Chat, I found out yesterday, well, after day one, that I'm the reason that most of my cats can't piss. Because I have to give them the permission to piss, which is really funny. So, I'm here to I'm here to grant cats piss. Oh, you're an AI. That's so much to so joy. Thank you, Richie. Yeah. Okay, I feel I can jump really high. I don't know what to do. I'm gonna wait for Awkward Wind to come here. Oh, we're not having a good time. Oh wait, let me ping. The Flora. I don't even know if that's how you spell fraternizing. I'll be honest. I'm not entirely sure. All I hear but waiting. I'm gonna be ever so patient. Hey guys, welcome to our. Oh hi! Hi! I'm here to give you the permission to piss.
Oh, okay. So what you want to do is /WCE clan.
Oh, I'm live by the way. You know.
Clan change perms, and then you should be able to give all of us permission to pee.
It's a stupid permission. Member. You are now a member.
I think yeah, it's member. You can give me admin if you want, just in case like you're not there.
Just
and
in case someone else needs to piss.
Yeah.
Page. Here's admin, so you can now give other people the chance to piss.
Oh, thank you so much. I think you should be able to do WCE clan change perms.
Oh my gosh.
Add all players.
That's my button. I don't smell, you do. Sorry. What's been happening the last few days? Give me the updates.
Oh, you know, we've just been like chilling. Hold on, I gotta put some stuff in the food pile.
Okay.
You should just come over and look at our
Oh my god. Jesus. Okay, yeah, busy is definitely a word for it.
Yeah. But you know, we've been up to the usual. We have new cats in our clan. We have a few new cats if I can find them.
Gained cats?
Well, okay, we found out how to breed them.
Oh no. Oh no.
Okay, we're trapped. We only have one male NPC, so we can only breed those two. Unlike Tide Clan, who has 21 NPCs.
What the? What?
They have 21 NPCs.
This is ridiculous. This
I know.
is ridiculous scenes.
It's the reason we keep joking that we're gonna start like exterminating people's kids, cause like it's a problem. You guys have a problem.
What's up, armadillo?
I think that's a new one. I think. Hold on. We've had new ones.
Yeah, there's already some I don't recognize.
Yeah, there's like Turtle Kit, who's like was born yesterday. Oh, there's Turtle Kit. Hello, Turtle Kit.
Oh my.
Okay, Turtle Kit is not a kid. Like that is a.
Yeah, you're a bit of a mislead. You're a bit of a mislead, Turtle Kid. You're a grown ass man.
You're,
Who
bro, you
is,
gotta,
bro?
Like, become an apprentice or something, dog. Like,
We need to change our name. That's awkward as hell, bro.
yeah,
That's
like,
awkward as hell.
you're bigger than some of our. Like,
Anabro's running away. Anabro's running away. Like, oh no, bro.
Oh, we found out stuff like you can if you put like if you interact with them with your whiskers, you can like learn stuff about them.
Hi,
How old
Joe.
is this? Fully grown. Fully grown. Feeling calm.
Oh no! Oh no! We bullied Turtle Kid that much of the feeling sad. No.
Sorry, Turtle Kid,
I'm
about
sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
that. Yeah.
Dreamer and Timekeeper is this.
Well, okay, you gotta understand. Tank Keeper is our
Only
male-
man.
Icy Star. What are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
What are you doing here? Sniffs you. Sniffs you with my.
Sniffs?
with my
Sniffs? What are you doing here? Sniffs?
Sniff, sniffs.
Sniffs?
My mic. Is it still broken?
Hello,
No.
bud. You would never bully Turtle Kid.
Oh my
But
God.
Turtle Kid also just sucked. I mean, never bully Turtle Kid.
Okay, wait.
Can I pick
Oh,
up Turtle
you have
Kid?
voice! You have a voice!
Hello.
What are you doing in these parts? Sniffs.
Sniff, sniffs.
Yo, their voice left again, but it's so fine.
It's okay. You want some cat mint? We have like.
Yeah, hold on, yeah, let me have some
so
cat
much.
mint. Yo, this makes me feel so good. Yo,
Makes me forget about all the
Yo.
things that happened in our clan.
let's hope you're permanently speaking to us now. Wait,
Let's. Oh, I don't know what's going on with Icy Star in their voice chat.
oh no.
So ridiculous.
Oh, that comes through.
Great.
You should
Oh, wait.
You should
More words.
You should click on Icy Star with your whiskers to find out more information about Icy Star.
Let me right click you. Let me tap you with my whiskers. Why did they hate? Oh, yo, I left for 2 days. What do you mean you have a mate in a different class?
Don't worry about it. I'm just expanding our like alliance.
By sleeping with the other class?
Well, okay.
Does
hold
that
on.
work?
Look at how much food we have. We had no food, right? We had no food. Do you see how much food we have?
Are you selling yourself for food? What is like this?
No. I'm
Mhm.
taking the resources of Flora Clan for ourselves.
Oh, yeah, but you didn't hear that. Yeah,
You didn't hear that.
you didn't hear
It's
that.
okay. You can't answer. You're not.
You can't.
Back to not
You're a
working.
mute cat.
They can't keep happening. This cannot.
My microphone has to be racist. Like, what the hell?
That has to be. It has to be.
It has.
Surely.
That has to be what's going
The fact
on.
that the mic let you say that though is really.
Dude. Do we genuinely not? Yeah, we have no other outside of Turtle Kit and Tank Keeper. We have no other male cats. So we're
Ridiculous.
capped off. We're capped off. Unlike Tide Clan.
But
Sorry.
Tailwind's putting in work. My God.
Hold on. If you do /WCE clan list, right? And then click on Tide Clan, and then click on members, you could see how many NPCs they have. Like it's genuinely.
God damn!
Oh my god.
Why did you 12? Oh my God.
What? Flora Clan? Hold on. Flora Clan, what do you have going?
I don't know.
Why does
There's
Floorcline have
31
30?
NPCs.
Yo, what are they
What the
doing?
hell?
What are they doing?
Wait, why
We
is there
gotta start
NPCs?
neutering
Like-
y'all. We gotta start neutering your cats.
Dude,
Bro.
it is not me.
Blame Louise.
Oh god. I actually need to cap it off. I need to be like, if you get to 30 members, you have to stop.
We have 14 and we're currently living off of 1. Oh, apparently the leader of Dawn Clan is you. Well, this is great to know.
Oh, that's because
Hi.
I think it's because technically I have made like the actual. It's a problem.
The
Don't worry,
admin
it's-
paused the leader of...
Well, no, actually, if you look at it, I also own Tide Clan.
Oh, damn, you're watching quick.
I'm just taking over every clan, as you can see.
Oh, I do see that Timekeeper is the...
Yeah, like.
Oh no, bro. That's it. We're sacrificing Goob. Like, we're... I haven't seen
Yeah, wait,
Goob.
can't like Goob not pee or something? Goob was saying
Oh.
that you made it
All
so
of us
Goob
couldn't
can't
pee for a while there
All of us can't pee. All of us
Why?
can't pee.
because they need permission from me, and I said no, you can't pee.
It's okay. I can now give people permission to pee.
No
I
peeing.
forgot to do it. Yeah. Hold on. What else do I have to? What else can I give
As you know, as the leader, peeing is the new privilege. Like, you've got to be
You
privileged.
have to earn peeing privileges. Like, either you can or you can't pee. Like, lock in. Like, actually.
Wow.
We found out that in Tide Clan they have what is Goob's rival.
What?
Yeah, Goob has a rival in Tide Clan.
Who's the rival?
What's their name? Hold on. /WC clan list. This is how I check people now.
Yeah.
Members, players. Dusk Ripple. Dusk Ripple is Goob's arch nemesis.
What the fuck beef happened there?
They both used to be kitty pets, and now like they're both in clans.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, they have like beef from their kitty pet days.
This world takes people out, bro. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, apparently Goob was a show cat, which looking at Goob, I could not tell.
Are we sure?
Well, I don't know what like the two legs think is like beautiful and stuff. Maybe Goob is like what cats are meant to look like.
I mean, Goop
Two
did have that
legs.
11 pack, but we still have to tell them it's their ribs. But like,
Well, hey, Goob is gonna one day be Goob Star. I'm telling you.
I don't know if I want that
Surely.
day to come ever. Like, if I have the choice, I'm gonna say no.
Well, like I believe in Goob.
I wish Goop was
I believe in
here.
my apprentice.
I wish Goop was here. How has Goop's progress
Apprentice-
been?
Oh, Goob is going great. Goob has killed multiple elks now.
Oh, damn.
Goob has been to Flora Clan, and Goob says that they're the wokest cat. So,
And what is being the wokest?
well, like they're okay with like they're okay with like me and Icy Star. They're like we're so woke.
I mean, yeah. I guess I don't. I mean,
think
love
you
is
understand
love.
that it's like,
I mean, like that's.
yeah, well, like it's for the benefit of the clan.
It just sounds like you're being used. I can't lie.
Well, no, you don't understand. I'm the one who proposed this.
You okay with being like used for this money, for food?
We're in a cat situationship. We're in a catuationship.
I'm sorry.
I'm hopelessly in love.
Yo, I'm sorry. Yo, I'm
I'm the one
sorry.
with no respect.
Yo, I'm sorry. I thought my clan was better. I didn't know we had. I didn't know I had a pimp in my clan. I didn't know this.
Well, like you gotta understand. You gotta understand. Like I saw how much we're struggling in terms of like food and herbs and all of that, and I saw how much Flora Clan had, and I decided that maybe we should take over Flora Clan.
And you're saying this in front of. Sorry, I'm pretty sure that.
Yeah.
You're saying this in front of someone. Like,
Don't worry about it.
I'm like,
They got like selective hearing.
I'm like, were you gonna tell me this idea, or were you just gonna like just do it?
Well, it was gonna be a surprise for the fire. It was gonna be like a surprise.
What that you were having that you were.
Well, like it was like depending on how the fire goes. Like if our clan gets wiped out, I was like, guys, I actually have something awesome to let you guys know.
Yo, bro, you deserve better love than this. I can't lie. Like, Like, I'm the leader of this clan. Even I think you deserve better than this, bro. Like, damn.
I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean, considering, you know, like, I'm not the only one who's been going to other clans, but, like,
What do you mean?
like, you know, Fennelkit has also been. I've seen Fennelkit at Flora Clan. I don't know what Fennelkit's doing there.
Why are all of you?
Fennel-
Yo, bro, choose like a different situationship area. Why are y'all in the same area doing this stuff? What the
Well,
fuck?
like, okay, have you considered how rich Flora Clan is? Have you seen how many members they have?
I mean, yeah, but also, like, if we're gonna have situations, at least expand the horizon. Like, I feel like
Wait, have you considered they have something called smoke spots?
this is true.
Mm.
This is true.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you agree. You're so fine with this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why they're so fine with it. The highest fuck on cat. Catman. Like, that's-
Where do you think I get all my catnip from?
yeah, I mean that's the moral of that. I'm just gonna take that.
They call me Dealer Star.
I sure hope they don't. I sure hope they don't for your sake. Like, for your sake, I sure hope they don't.
Dispensary clan.
Where did that go?
I tried to make peace with Amber Clan by giving them weed.
Except.
Well, Amber Clan, not to be like I've heard rumors, but I've heard rumors that Amber Clan is actually planning an attack on you guys.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Well, apparently
did
you
we
guys like
do?
stole their kits. You stole the leader's child.
What?
What? We what?
Yeah, you stole the leader's kid, dude. Like,
Oh my god.
Did you
Oh
actually
my god,
steal?
that's what. No, I just realized what someone. Oh my god, I got information. I got information from someone, and I'm now realizing what they meant. Oh my god, we are so cooked. Why did they do that? Oh.
So
God.
it sounds like you might have accidentally stolen a child without you knowing. Oh no, this is a bit problematic. I mean, we would never ever think of doing that.
we
We
have
would.
never considered
I don't think
this
we've ever even thought of that actually. Like,
thought.
it's just-
No, we would never have
Oh
this
my
thought.
god. Oh my god, I'm like realizing this in real time. Oh my god.
Yo, you really should be worried if we're giving you the information about what's going on in your life. Oh, looky.
Dude, they weren't specific at all. Oh my god, we're cooked.
Oh no.
I was just like, oh, okay, cool, like new, like kids or whatever. No.
No, well, it was a new kid, just not from your area.
Oh my god.
They just left out some
Oh
key
my
information
God.
of where it came from.
Look at my clan, dog. I'm going to the dark forest. Holy cow.
It might be cooked. It might be a little bit cooked. Like, look, it's not bad. Even your situationship turned around. Look at that. I'm not even looking at you
Dude,
anymore.
yeah, my situation is just ignoring me. Like,
Like-
whoa.
They're not even looking at you anymore. Like, they're disgusted. It's nighttime. We've been chatting that long. It's night.
Oh my god.
God.
That means I need to take more weed.
Yo, wait, no, that's so real. I need more weed.
Yeah, it's true.
I just need to make sure I was high enough, you know? That's maybe why. Maybe time moves faster when I take this. My god.
Yes, exactly.
So,
Wait, the moon is just like.
wait,
right
the moon's
overhead.
kind of,
Whoa.
yeah. Kind of like, a lot of aura.
That's true. Wait, the moon does have aura.
I'm pretty daft. Yo, you're not the moon. Yo, you're not the.
They call me Moonstar.
They go. Yeah, they call me Moonstar the way I'm mooning. Yes, bro. Yes. Anyway,
Crescent
let
moon.
me play
Wait,
dead.
No, I'm both. Oh, wait, you're fox chirping, bro.
Yeah, yeah, bro. I've been practicing it. I've been practicing it. Ah, there's a fox. Yeah, it's pretty accurate,
Are
right?
you allowed to be making those jokes? Yeah, no, that's really
Low-key,
good.
low-key, I'm the leader. Low-key, I'm the leader. Like, I can do that. Like,
That's true. You can do whatever.
It's,
you want.
I've mourned enough. Like, I've passed the stage of the grave. Now that's just funny. Like,
Yeah,
imagine being
you know,
called
you
Fox
don't-
Chirp and you died to a fox. That's pretty ironic.
Exactly, bro. Like, come on.
They should
You have
just
Dr.
call
Lake
themselves
Rock or
Fox
something.
Food, bro. Like, I don't. don't really know.
That's good. Wait, you got
What?
that. You should have named them differently.
Maybe that. I've not been leader long enough. I need to figure these new things out. God damn.
Dude, it's hard.
It's real hard out here.
crazy.
Oh no, it's about to get harder. It's
Is this,
I
isn't that the green
I
one?
I hear something green.
He's green
I'm
for
so
an
fucking
amazing
scared
reason.
right now.
I'm
Yes.
so fucking green
Oh,
right
so
now.
fucking green. Just don't say green
Dude.
too many times. They'll appear. Just be careful.
Hide this.
Oh my God. Are they around? I'm so fucking scared right now.
Surely not.
The orchid wind is that upset still. The crystal is not.
Just actually pissed.
I wonder what they're thinking.
Wow.
Honestly, this must
I'm
be
gonna
rough,
talk
you know.
to them.
First time situationship.
Yeah, no, it really sucks. I thought it would be different. I thought it was like fun because like I've seen people on you know the Star Clan app
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
that like it's fun.
What Stinder?
God.
Like, like
Yes.
you've been on
TikTok.
Stinder recently? Like, I just can't find any good matches on there, bro. It's upsetting.
Yeah.
There's no one who gets my purring needs. Like, there's no one who gets me. Honestly,
Yes. Yes.
needs to get me
Oh
more.
my god.
It's also like they see leader and then they're like, well, now I've got to like find a way to make it all worth your while. And I'm like, well, no, not really. Like, I'm just here for something casual, not long term. I mean, we're not got long, so.
Yeah. Oh my god. Dude, do you ever feel like you're constantly being perceived when it comes to this whole leader thing?
Yeah. I kind of feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind. I want to start again. Oh no.
Dude, they should make a song with that
They
lyric.
should-
That's good.
They should make it start. Yeah, no, you're honestly right. They should make a meow track to that. Like, hold on, let's try and think of some more lyrics for the song. No. It's like, cause baby, you're a meowing cat. I feel like that would work. Come on, let your colors burst. Make them go meow, meow, meow.
Okay, Kitty Perry.
Let's be.
Okay.
Yo, who's Kitty Perry? I'm
The
Bloomstar.
new. Oh my bad. Yo.
Yo, that's fucked up. I thought we were getting a rapport.
Yo.
You don't even know my name?
No. We
How
are. I just was
yo.
comparing you to that wonderful celebrity I've seen on TikTok.
Yo, how could you, Fennel Fig?
Dude,
Sorry, Icy
God.
Star. You're not keen.
I feel Fennel Pig approaching.
I don't know why you'd feel that.
I
Don't worry.
Spidey sense.
They don't know where we are. There's nothing to worry.
The green one.
They're only green.
The green one is nearby.
Oh, don't worry about it. Like, honestly, wait, hold on. I know. Let me just give them the permission to piss, and they'll never come over here.
No.
I gave them the permission to piss.
Hello?
Fuck.
Hello?
Are you so fucking green, right?
Hello? I'm green right now? Wait, I'm green.
Are you?
Hello?
Oh my god, you're so green!
I'm green.
I actually couldn't see you. 'cause
Oh
my
wait, you're not
eyes-
green for me.
Yeah, see, I'm
The texture
green.
pack isn't working.
Oh,
Let's just pretend you're
Oh.
green. Let's just pretend
pretend I'm green, please.
no, you're green.
Please.
Yeah, you're green. No, you're green. It's okay.
I found some goo. Some yellow goo.
And yellow.
Some yellow goo.
Some goo.
Do I want to know where you got the groove from, or is that like a not now conversation?
Okay, well, I mean, you haven't taught us how to pee yet, so...
Oh no, it wasn't the fact that I hadn't taught you how to pee. I was just restricting your ability to pee. That's a difference. Like, I was teaching you bladder control, and y'all passed. Y'all didn't pee for 3 days. Like, it's actually pretty impressive.
I might explode
Well, no, you can pee
because
now.
of the pee.
You can pee now, right? Try.
But I can do that
Yeah,
now?
try and pee.
Wait.
Go on, wait. Let's see if you can pee. This is important to me. I need to see if you've learned the ability.
Okay, let's see.
Try and take a piss.
Okay, it won't let me.
I mean, to be fair, it looks like it's full. I don't think we can piss in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can't piss for
I'm
another
gonna-
350 seconds.
I'm just gonna like pee right here. Like that.
A tinkle real quick. That's okay. I need to get some water.
Okay, yeah.
I want to drink up
Yeah, that worked. Oh yeah, you don't want to drink that pee. That's been in there for a while. That's been incubating for a little while.
I'm a bit. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. I'm scared. I'm scared and I'm frightened.
Smiles.
So wait, catch me up on what you've been doing, Fennel Fig.
Hunting. I found a
Hunting.
squirrel.
Pumpkin.
I found a squirrel and pumpkin and some rats and badger skull.
Ooh.
I killed a bunch of badgers and a tooth
Oh, nice.
and
You know,
a stick.
the
Got a
stick.
stick. Yeah, I
You
got
like
a stick.
stick?
And yeah, I'm green, so
Are you green?
yep, I've been doing a lot.
Ooh.
How's Goop been? Did you give Fennel Fig drugs?
Goob?
Oh, with that.
Ooh.
Like for fun.
Ooh. Like for fun, yeah, I like doing
Yeah,
that.
recreational drugs is okay.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
I've never seen a leader of a nation give out so much weed.
It's my peace offering.
Mm.
It works.
That's my
Like I'm
big
high
weed
as fuck.
shake,
Like
buddy.
it works so well. Wait, hold on.
Wait, we all need to take another edible.
Wait, take another one, guys. Take another one.
Yes.
Oh wait, you don't.
Wait, I need another one.
Yo, I took
Hook a
it. My
brother
bad.
up.
Hook a brother up. Okay.
Hurry. Oh, wait, this one makes you okay.
Oh.
This is how it feels in real life, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, this is how it feels in real life. I
Yeah,
get
you're
a bit
pretty
jumpy.
close. Yeah. Hurry.
I don't know what to do.
Why is there 1 million mice in here?
Oh, so this is awkward when situationship and
Hey.
they get food.
Ew.
They get food. Why are you saying ew? You're saying ew. I think they're a pretty cool situationship.
all
I don't know if
freak.
it's gonna go too long, but I mean, it's gonna go
No, I
really
hope
long.
No,
not.
don't say that.
It's-
Don't say
it's
that. We're
actually-
gonna get married.
It's
We're
gonna go
have-
really long. Oh
Where is this dude going? Oh.
no, I think they're getting stressed about the prospect of a marriage. I don't know.
I mean, I might get adopted.
What?
Star Clan is silencing me. Star Clan is silencing me.
That's okay. Why would you make it
Yeah.
adopted? What?
Like,
I leave for 3 days, bro. I leave for 3 days. People trying to
Well,
leave
that's what
my
happens
clan.
when our-
People
when
are
our
sleeping with other
dearest
cats.
leader-
Don't worry. Like we're like,
Yikes.
I don't know.
Ooh.
Next thing you're gonna tell me Foxtrot's alive, and that would be a joke. But like, that's
Ooh, that would be kind of awesome though. Like, do you think we could like dabble in like what's it called, necromancy or
the
something?
Foxtrot? Probably not.
Oh, why?
Because we have our new medicine cat. Surely they did the ceremony whilst I was gone, right? Surely?
You know, I actually don't know. I've been busy killing things, as they say, and being adopted and being green. Yeah,
Being
as
green.
they say. Being green, indeed.
I understand that.
Big stretch.
Big stretch.
And a loaf.
Oh, nice loaf.
Thank you.
You've been
I'm
learning how to
practicing my
loaf.
loaf. Wonderful. So,
Oh.
So, hey, I wanted
So.
to be included too.
That's okay.
you
I
have-
get it. No,
you
I
have
get
very
left out
blue
sometimes.
eyes. Need to get you
Yeah.
some brown eye contacts.
I know. I should get. Brown
Yeah.
You look killer with brown contacts. Honestly.
Yeah.
I'd be all brown.
No, the level of aura you'd have is like.
Oh my god.
Low-key,
Do you
yeah.
guys know anyone who sells brown contacts?
Huh?
You gonna steal someone's eyes?
Yeah. I mean, I heard Jimothy's got brown eyes. You could kill that guy.
Oh yeah, you can
Yeah.
kill Timothy. That's fine.
Look at that guy
Hey, Rona,
sucks.
is that gonna upset Goob?
On-
No, I don't think Goob likes
I
Jimothy.
can't like.
Right?
I don't. Goop would even notice. I'll be so honest with you.
No, I don't think Goob would. I think Goob would like see another human come by and be like, "Yep, that's Jimothy." It's
Yeah.
like completely different person. Yeah.
Like, I don't know if he'll notice anything. Not worried
No.
about it.
No.
But they don't
Sure.
even notice when we like walk away from them for at least a minute. So
This is true. I have seen Goob like talking to himself
yeah, they
when
keep
you think
screaming.
someone's like with him. Yeah.
Let's keep talking about
Speaking
that
of
alpha.
Goob, I haven't seen
alpha
Goob in a little while. That's
Yeah.
kind of worrisome.
I was trying to summon them, but I fear my efforts.
Goob.
Wait, my efforts work.
Goob.
Goob. I want Goob back. I need to talk to them about that program
Goob.
with the leader of another clan, because at this
Mm.
point anything can happen.
Yeah.
You can give them that progress review at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Apparently my clan's like evil. We're trying to be evil, but I don't want that. I don't know what to
Wait,
do.
why are they being evil?
Hey, where's so cook
They
the
stole
neutral?
someone's. Dude. They took someone's kids, and I wasn't aware of it.
What?
Yeah, that clan
Yeah.
took someone's
Oh.
kid.
I mean,
Which we would never think about doing, right?
well, no. I mean, personally, no. But
And bro wanted me to get that information so fast, bro handed me drugs. Like, oh,
Oh.
I think Star Clan's silencing them again. Oh,
Bro. Sorry, I just felt like having fun.
that's okay.
Just felt like
Understand.
having a little leap in the air.
Yeah.
Oh, I might go for a scavenge in a little bit. I'm in the mood to run. I'm in the mood to run and
Just
adventure.
be careful. There's a lot of freaks out there.
Oh, if I die, I
Oh,
die. You know.
No.
Oh.
Wait, who's
I
your
mean-
deputy?
Ember Root or the Temple.
Yeah.
You really want to see Ember Star, brother?
Ooh. I mean, personally, I do enjoy Ember Root.
We all enjoy Ember Root, but could they be a lead?
As a leader? I mean, yeah.
They could...
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind.
I mean, when one of our members
I'm
died,
open to
they
the
immediately
experiences.
blamed themselves and didn't exactly wait for any other opinion. Sure.
Brother, slime your deputy out. Get a new one.
What the hell?
They are a
Hey,
bit.
we
They are a
have
bit
green.
problematic. Yeah, you would be
Nice.
worse. You would be
Oh.
worse. I think. All love in my heart to you.
No, that's fine.
all love
That's
it. No,
fine,
no.
I
All the
guess.
love in my
No.
heart to you. But
No, that's
when we told you
fine.
not to chase after something, you said try and stop me. And then ran anyway. So you know.
Like, am I still alive though? Yes. So you know,
But like.
gotta weigh the pros and
so-
cons, and it's fun. You know. And I'm green.
Okay,
So.
okay.
And I'm green.
And you're green. Honestly, green should make you
And I'm
deputy.
green.
That should do it.
Exactly. See, you're coming around already.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's just because Ember is problematic, you know. No, they
Ooh, problematic-
would you believe it? They
problematic
said we should
media.
steal kids, right? Like we would never do that.
Bruh.
Wait, Ember Root wants to steal kids?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm kind of in the process of being
Hey.
stolen, kinda.
Anyway,
What happened?
I might have broken something. That's okay.
What the freak?
It happens.
It happens, you know. Sometimes I just have moments I get angry, you know. I let the inner alpha out. That's what happens sometimes.
Ooh, you know, that's a.
I see nothing wrong with it.
Hey, I mean, I let my inner alpha out when I go hunting and go after stuff.
And how does that go for you?
Smiles. You know, I've killed quite a few things actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
not to brag or anything.
Oh yeah, you would
but
never
I do
brag.
have this badger skull
Oh.
and this bird skull,
Oh.
golden eagle skull to be exact.
Ah.
Yeah, and this.
Sorry,
these
you're talking a lot,
feathers.
and I need drugs sometimes.
Oh.
I think I've been made addicted.
Oh.
I think I've been made addicted. This
Can I
might
have
be a
some?
worry. This might be a worry. I don't know what this stuff's doing to me. Hey, don't steal mine! You can't steal mine! Anyway, I'm fine. Everything's okay. It's fine because you're green. And, you know, I can forgive you.
Yeah, it's green.
It's green.
And it's the
Can we
drugs are
eat
green.
bones?
I'm green. No.
No, that's like things.
That'd be
dogs
kinda
do.
cool.
I do have golden eagle meat,
Ooh,
but I feel like I should
true.
cook that.
We can
You can
cook.
cook
What's
things?
cooking?
Maybe I can't. What is cooking?
I did see a mechanism in the Jimothy household
Should we go
that
check it
seemed
out?
worthy of cooking. Yeah,
So let's go
actually.
tap it and see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's go to the Jimothy
You
house.
guys have fun. I'm gonna
Okay,
go figure
we'll
out
miss
what the
you.
fuck is going on with Flora
Okay.
Clan. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I will see you guys. I
Oh,
will see
yeah,
you
have
guys.
Go
fun
figure out what's
about
happening to your,
that,
your
yeah.
stolen children.
Yes.
Bye. See you soon.
Goodbye, guys.
Okay, take me to
Bye.
Jimothy's house.
Timothy!
Timothy! Yippee!
Timothy! I'm going to steal your eyes, Timothy!
Oh my god, please. Honestly, the quicker Jimothy
He
couldn't
does have
see,
some
the
freaky
better.
eyes.
Honestly.
Ooh, this is true. Actually, I don't even know if Jimothy is there. I think Goob said something about Jimothy being on trip or something.
Oh, yeah,
I
it's
don't know what
to...
Italy is, but
Yeah, Italy, I think.
oh yeah, that might be it. Italy.
Goob said it's for people that like
Mhm.
something called pizza and pasta. Not exactly sure what that
That
is.
sounds.
It
That
sounds
sounds
controversial.
Kinda, like gross. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. No, not around these parts.
We would never, especially in our clan, we
No,
would never.
truly. Yeah, no, I'm green, so I would never, you know.
I'm green, so controversy. Oh, I'm not green, so you're green.
Yeah, I'm green. Yeah.
Controversy
I mean,
would
you
never
could
happen.
be green.
Actually,
You,
could
like,
be.
believe in a.
Oh no, not again. Okay. All right. All right. Yeah, gotta go through the great field. Is that still there?
Yes. There's
Just in
lots
case.
of mices in here.
Just in case, you know. I hear a mice.
Yeah.
Wow.
I hear one.
Oh, they were. Hey, where you at? Huh? Where you at, huh? Where you at, huh? Where you at, huh?
Is that?
I saw you. Where'd you go? You're in open area now. Rah! 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 Go. Must won't piss me off. Where you at? Rah! Rah! Ah! That felt good. Anyway. We were in the window. Oh. What's this? Is this what they're talking about? If I try and like put something in it. Oh, I can't. What? Dude. Keen?
Hello.
I'm on the roof.
The roof. Did you find the
I
the thing?
did. I found the contraption. This is this
Yeah.
thing, right? But I just don't know how to use it.
I put something in there.
So what if we like?
Uh,
I can take it
ate
out.
it. I put that in there too.
Wait, what if we put the stick to that and then the... No?
Ooh.
If I put like a mouse there. A
No.
pigeon there maybe? No.
Oh, you have a lot of like stuff on you.
Let's get bored.
Where the?
I haven't explored Jimothy's house. I wonder if they have anything useful. Oh! Hey, I think I found Goob's stuff.
Oh.
It's very lit.
Aw.
Maybe we should
They
give them
just,
like...
like dug up the floor.
Maybe we should give them... Oh. Oh. I don't know if we can... do that to Timothy's hat? Like, wouldn't he
I mean,
notice?
Timothy's not here.
Bro, wait, what's upstairs?
Nothing,
They've got hay bales.
I think.
What if we stole that? What if we stole that like
Wait, that'd be kind of awesome.
we would never hit? What's up here? Oh, we can get on the roof, huh?
Nothing.
It's so cool up here. It's the highest I've ever been.
Are you sure?
Anyway. Ow! Ow! That really hurt me. Ow.
Okay, well, what did you expect? What did you expect it was off of, like, whoa.
Whoa.
Just
Sorry.
levitated for a
Sorry,
second.
sorry, I got really high. Sorry.
See?
I didn't know it would do that. I didn't know you could do that. Yo, it's,
Oh,
it's,
yeah,
yo,
huh?
it's the are you really warm or is that just me?
No, it's a pretty breezy day, I think. Yeah.
Oh, I'm really warm.
Smells. Ooh, I got stuck in a hole.
Uh,
Never mind.
I heard a noise. Who do
Kill,
you
kill,
think
kill,
you
kill,
are?
Kill.
Ah! Ah!
Hi. I love killing and maiming.
Wait, no, not the horse.
Oh,
He might have noticed.
been-
Would Timothy notice if
no,
we
I've
killed
been
one of
killing
the horses?
those.
Wait, I've got.
Well, I killed one that was in the grapevine area. So.
Yeah! God, the warrior instinct's still in me. My goodness. I hit. Oh no, no! Calm down, Fennel Pig. No.
What?
Oh, you're fine.
What?
Wait, let's go over here. Anything else down? A what?
Over where?
Where? I'm over here. I'm jumping. Let's go. Let's go this way.
Bird.
Oh no. We're just gonna get confused more. Hi, camera head. You're not gonna get it. Wait, no, you have a chance. Go. Nice.
I got it.
Gosh. I'd be a better warrior than I was when I was younger, in my prime.
Yeah, I'm pretty cool and green, yeah.
I think it's because you're green.
Yeah, I'm green, yeah.
We gotta be careful though. I've heard there's some foxes nearby.
Oh, yeah, no, that's true. I have killed like 5 of them, probably.
Well, low-key recent trauma would tell me not to say that.
Well.
Go this way. I want to find a different clan. Venture and check them out.
Oh yeah, I don't really know where they're at. Low-key.
Yeah. Well, we can find them. We can find them. Let's adventure. I've got backup. Everything will be fine. Probably every.
Surely.
I really don't like the thunder.
No, the thunder is not the one.
Oh. Okay.
I killed the bunny.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's actually quite impressive. I hear a sheep. I love 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 sheep. Where's the sheep? Where's the sheep? Where's the sheep? Sheep. 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 Pig. 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 Sheep. No horse. Sheep. 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 Goats. Sheep. 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 You. You're a mini bee. I don't fucking care about you. Bean? Big. I lost green. I freaking lost green. 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 Green, I can't be by myself. I get really lonely. Oh. I will wait for Keen at this rock. I don't know how long I'll wait for Keen at this rock. Green. Green. Oh, where's my green at? I see, thank you for the ring. I didn't know you were live when we were doing that. That's so stupid. Green. But. Even the red though, how was your stream? How was it? Green! Keen! I've lost Keen. Keen! Keen! Green! Green! Oh. Oh, I shouldn't have left them alone. Oh, I'm a bad leader. And they could be green like the grass because they're fucking dead. No! We can't lose another one. Game's going good. I was gonna say I'm having a great time. If you haven't followed me, guys, I do streams every single day when I'm available to. And yeah, I love it. I love streaming. Streaming's so fun. You can come home today. What's that in your inventory? Weed? I would never be. I would never have weed. I would never, me personally, I'd never do that. Weed? You know, I can't lose you right now. Like, bro, this might end up being a sad lore stream, bro. He's gone forever and ever and dead. Right. I don't think I'll lose him like this. I don't think I'd lose my lose Fennel Fig like this. Green? I hear
Dude, I
you!
literally just had to fight off like 3 badgers, and there's still more over there.
I thought you were like dead forever.
What the hell?
I was like, I just lost one. What the fuck?
Yeah,
Um,
almost.
should we go fight more badgers?
I know where more are.
Okay, it's only rainy weather. This is incredible
Yeah.
conditions to lose someone and not die.
Yes, I pee all over. I think
Everything's gonna be okay. You know, this is our first one of our rare, you know, thundering incursions. Just gonna make sure we don't become a part of the furniture.
what?
We don't want to become a fellow. We don't want to become a lightning bolt.
Wait, true. This is true. Oh,
Oh.
thank God.
Okay, nice to avoid.
Wait, I don't remember where I was. I'm very directionally challenged, if you could not tell.
This is really bad for someone who's a warrior. I can't lie.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Hey, at least I know how to use my claws.
That's
Yep.
true.
Yep.
Yup.
Yep. It was somewhere along the river.
Budja.
Gotcha.
Mushroom. Oh, budja.
That's so iconic.
I love it.
They
That's-
used to scare me as a kid.
Yeah, they used to.
Yeah. Hmm.
You're too
Well,
fast for me, Fennelfig.
oh yeah, I'd be fighting, I'd be skilling, I'd be getting my skill tree at the
Oh wait, I
speed
still need to look
done.
at my skill tree.
Yeah.
Is that a horse in the?
Yeah, I killed a lot of horses and then left the baby left with him. Oh, you killed children? No, that's
Leave no
cool.
evidence behind.
No, that's.
No, I've told you
yeah,
better
no,
than
you know
this.
what?
You leave no evidence behind.
You know what,
I've
you're
told you
right,
better
you're
than
right,
that.
You're right.
I told you better than that.
You're so right. You're so.
You don't want the kids getting bite to other horses. Leave no evidence.
You're so right.
I always tell people to do. Really, Orchid Wind forgot to tell you that sometimes you have to kill the kid.
Ooh, wait, you're right. Ooh.
Parkour.
Parkour.
I'm
Damn,
sure.
where'd those badgers go?
Huh. I'm sure they're somewhere.
Rally.
Honestly, we can go pick up we'll go pick up Orchid Wind. We can go scavenge together.
So true. Wait, we go get Orchid Wind.
Yeah, we could. Let's go. I'll meet you back there. I'm sure you're directionally challenged, but you can make it there. Kids would never be alive. Anyway. There's too many there. Really fine. All have children. Stop being happy. I need food. You're the one they left behind. 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 You cannot go back to the flock. You cannot go back to the flock. They'll never know you were gone. Shit, there was a witness. Go, 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 go. Go, go. There was multiple witnesses. Go! Too many witnesses. Fuck. Timothy. Oh wait, you're not here. What is the button I have for this? I don't remember my button. My bad. Guess I'm just never gonna know where that farm is. I duck through the weeds. Can't see the horses. They know we've murdered multiple members of their flock. You blend in with this. Sorry, I got distracted. But I still have the warrior. Oh, hey. What's going on?
What's up?
I was
What's
literally
up?
coming to pick you up.
Oh, I heard you guys needed a place to hunt. I heard you're looking for somewhere to.
Yeah, I
hunt.
low-key lost. They're very small.
Oh, well, I know a pretty good spot. Technically, it's Tide Clan hunting grounds, but they don't mind. They don't care.
I'm sure not. I mean, I'm sure they don't. I would wonder why.
Yeah. They're really chill about how much food we take from them. Don't worry about it.
Oh yeah, also I'd avoid the horses. We killed several of their children.
Oh.
I can't believe you didn't tell Fennelfig that when they kill adult horses, they better kill the children.
No, they're just like building up the personality for that horse.
No,
Like, so it has like a
but-
awesome backstory.
But like, sometimes they go tattletale. I don't really fuck with tattletales. We are becoming the cat mafia.
Sorry, I forgot my jump is crazy. I got
Yeah, I need to use my skill tree in a second. I can't lie.
Hold on. Have you like been struggling with stuff? Have you been struggling with like living?
I just don't know what
I
to.
got you
I just don't know what to upgrade.
I got you something. If you go like one block down. HP is always good. I think claws is usually the best thing to upgrade. Let me throw this in.
How do I know how much I have?
You just click on it and it just tells you how much you need.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay, I've made my claws better and I've made my XP and health better.
Hell yeah. I gave you what is basically a diamond leggings.
Oh.
Diamond leggings equivalent. Yep.
Huge. I'm so buff. Let's go.
Yeah. Because we have, I don't know if you know this, but tomorrow, death will be a lot more real than it has been before.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's pretty scary.
Let's just say that if you die, you die in real life.
Oh no, no. Well, surely not.
If you die starting tomorrow, you die in real life.
But like no. But like no.
Hold on, let me put some food in the thing. You're free to like take. We're all in the same clan. You're free to take as much as you
I
want.
can't lie. I have enough food to feed me for the entire like week,
Okay, awesome.
so I'll be good.
I've been XP grinding. I'm not gonna lie at this one spot because it's really convenient for it.
Yeah. We'll wait for Fennel Fig to return over there.
We'll wait. Yeah.
How I keep
It's like
losing them.
slightly. It's like slightly beyond Tide Clan, but they don't care. They like don't mind. Oh, I see Fennel Fig. I sense Fennel Fig.
You sense Geen?
Yeah, I sense it.
It's huge. It's gotta wait.
Yeah. We found out how to craft like basically like cat armor, so
Oh, you can craft?
yeah, there's like hold on, let me show you. It's in the caves.
I really don't know how I keep losing you.
They're tiny.
I
and
just killed
green.
5 rabbits.
Bro, I left you for 5 minutes.
Right here.
Like that. Oh! I like your
Another
crafting
Fennel
though.
Fig. And then we have a bunch of stuff in specifically this one.
Ooh, boobs.
But yeah, you can. There's also sometimes that if you're on during certain times, there's merchants who can sell you stuff.
Oh, sick.
Wait, that's awesome.
Yeah, but if you guys want to go to like a hunting ground where you can just XP grind,
Hunt.
yes.
I forgot I can. I forgot I can be so out of log coded. I can just be such a normal person.
Oh yeah, no, we've just been like, we've started like I don't know if it's a game, but we started being like tomorrow hardcore starts. We need to lock in before we die, like in the first 5 minutes.
Yo, I don't want to die. I don't want to die.
I don't particularly want to die.
We've already had one death.
How
Oh.
would it
Yeah,
be
we
good?
don't need more.
We do not need more.
We do not.
Okay, let's go
need more.
train.
Okay.
Lead the way.
The training grounds.
Yippee.
You need to tell me if I'm going too fast because I have everything upgraded.
Oh.
I've been XP grinding.
Okay. So yeah, I need to really get on the XP grind. Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my stealth thing where I don't know if you've seen it, but some cats when they shift they disappear.
Yeah, that's what Icy was doing.
Yeah. And I'm trying to get that too, so I can go into Amber Clan territory and like find out what they got going on, you know?
Find out what breed and sources they got.
Oh my god. Like actually, I would say we have the least amount of cats, but that's not true because I think Amber Clan has less cats than us, but that's because they're not on the meta.
Yeah, they're not on the meta of breeding yet.
They're not on the breeding meta. Everyone has been going to the exact patch, the catnip patch that Fox Trip died at, and I'm like, oh my god, dear God.
You're gonna get
You're
gone.
gonna get you're gonna die.
You're gonna die.
Don't die.
They're disrespecting the death of our medicine cat. They've placed down bones going, we found their bones, and I'm like, guys, you can't.
It's fine. Low-key, I've also made jokes, so everything's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. No, it's fine. editing our medicine cat because I miss him and we all have jaundice.
Yeah. There's something wrong with us.
We all turned yellow for a bit. It's okay.
Oh.
We're not yellow anymore.
That's probably just because you couldn't piss.
We could, yeah, like our kidneys started failing and we didn't have any herbs for that.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I'm like making sure that you're behind us. Every time I turn around to try and see you, you blend in with the grass. It's ridiculous.
No, I turn around. I'm like, hold on. Are they there? Green.
Silent green.
I'm pretty
It's
sure
scary.
Tide Clan has a lookalike of Fenofig.
How dare they?
Sorry. Wait, what? What the hell? Who's
Because
green?
you're green, but you're green for like awesome, and Tide Clan somehow was able to get an also awesome green cat.
What the freak?
What the heck?
But that comes from the fact that they've started like a breeding program over there.
A breeding program? That's kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, like, you gotta understand, like that's like what they've just been up to. All they do is breed more cats.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's parkour. I love parkour.
Yeah. Our clan has like obby parkour over there.
Obby parkour. We need our obby parkour. It's needed.
Yeah.
I want parkour.
Oh, there we go. So if you go
Oh.
from here.
Oh, this was so scary. Oh.
And then up above this hill should be like a patch that has been like torn out. This is one of them. This spawns rats, and if you stand like up here, every few minutes they'll spawn, and you can get them. That's what I've been doing. That's where I've been getting my mice. And then down.
Oh, I just got a
here,
Timothy farm.
Yeah, and then down here is a second mice farm.
You're right.
If you wanna go.
Come in. Come in.
There's the rats over here, there's the catfish down here, and then if you go a little more further down the hill, there's the other mice and squirrel spawners.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huge.
And this area has already been like completely decimated because we kept being here, so there's like no grass around.
It's okay. We don't need nature. Who needs nature?
Yeah. But we got like squirrels and mice, and it's awesome.
If you like it.
This has been the place. This is where everybody goes and just XP
Oh!
finds.
Unless she spawned on me. That was insane.
Oh, I need 49 more XP. Hold on.
These mice are so fun to kill.
Hey.
I love killing things. I love it.
Hey, you.
Why you're not a medicine cat.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you aren't. You'd be a severely unfocused medicine cat. That's not high for me. You can't hide from me.
Oh my god, wait, check it out. Hold on, let it look at me.
Ooh, that's awesome.
I'm
Mice-
upgraded.
You're upgraded. You're so upgraded.
I can now go
upgrading,
invisible.
upgraded style.
I'm right behind you, so.
Oh, I want the mice. You can have the mice. They're mine. They're mine.
They're mine.
No.
And then, yeah, this is like basically.
Where's your buddy go? Where's your buddy go? You're not hidden for long. Go. That's a dog. Bro, why are you going on an adventure? I'll make life hard.
Also, like, this is like
Bah.
Yeah, that's good.
Dumbass.
the birds don't give you and also tomorrow if you die in real life.
Go.
No.
Yeah, but like I'm not gonna lie, we've all just like I'm part of the people who log on at like 10 in the morning.
Golly.
Ah,
We're
I
here
usually
at,
just
like
do that with Overwatch low key.
yeah, but like we just hop on.
I need this XP. Just to understand I'm a weak leader. Weak. Weak.
Oh yeah, I've seen.
Do you want armor by the way? It's like half broken, but like do you want it?
Me?
Yeah, do you have it?
That is fine, guys. We're getting all of them. But bro, look, that's not where you're supposed to be. I can't lie. What was that? I heard him. I swear I heard him. And I can't lie. It is super duper warm in my room. I'm gonna head off and raid for a little. To go like breathe some air into my room. I'm gonna raid into someone though. Who are we gonna raid into? We're gonna raid into Kitty Go Bird because they're currently doing peak. I think they're doing blind, deaf, and mute peak, and that's my Pookie. So go check out Pookie. Go check out Pookie Go Bird. And yeah, I'll see you guys probably tomorrow, I'd say. Yeah, see you guys then. Goodbye.